and it can come back and bite you in the ass pretty quick.
Well, that's exactly, and you know, gathering information, it's proper information, not misinformation. And that's what I find nowadays, even when I go online, and that there's so much misinformation about scaffolds, about cantilevers, about the COVID virus. I mean, just about anything out there you can find bad information about. And that's what I want the SAIA to be, the proper information, the proper place to gather, you know, tell them what to gather and what information that they need to look at and that. So, but that's just my take on things. You guys can comment as you like.
Could be an overload that just brought the rest of it down.
Opinion number 4.
There you go.
Hey, Wendy, this is Steve. This is one of the, I think, the situations that was put forward for the review and regulatory to look at, which was this idea of what do you say after an accident's happened. And we've sort of tossed it around a little bit in meetings the last year or so, but it's always been very difficult to know exactly what to report back to the media for the very reasons that all of you have just expressed about lack of information. How much information do we want to put out there? Are we opening ourselves up for legal situations? So it's something we've talked about, but we're not really quite sure how to move forward on it, other than to make some sort of generic comment that make sure that your people are trained and all that, that sort of information. But in terms of actually trying to respond to these accidents, it's really difficult to know how to do it without getting yourself in legal hot water.
Well, and no matter what you say, the media is going to twist it the way they want to, unfortunately. So even if you gave them a document of everything, they'll pick one thing out of that document and run with it, kind of thing. So you're right. It's a very touchy subject for sure. Any other comments? Okay, new topics for the scaffold industry. One of the things that we just wanted to talk about, our group, well, lots of people are talking about the COVID virus and that. Our group, lots of different things have happened up here in Canada. Some of our job sites, we actually have to wear a mask on the site. Some of them, we have to keep 2 meters apart distance and wear a mask. Which our guys drive to the site together, so that's really almost impossible kind of thing. And what is the new norm going to be like, or is there going to be new rules? Is there anybody out there that have had new site conditions that they've had to deal with and that?
You take your temperature. You have to have your temperature taken when you get on the site. We tell our guys they have to take their temperature before they leave the house. But most general contractors have your foreman take the temperature of all your crew members and have it documented before they go to work.
Anybody else that has to do new things?
There's we have to wear. Go ahead, Sean.
I was going to say there's a laundry list of things. There's also a laundry list of don'ts. You are allowed to take somebody's temperature, but don't put it on a log sheet where other people can see it. The information has to be kept confidential. So there's a whole bunch of things. The job site, OSHA just released their recommendations for dealing with COVID-19 on a job site. For one thing, all of us have encountered fit testing for most of our careers, and that is all out the window for about the last 6 weeks. So
they're not wearing respirators, they're wearing face coverings.
Exactly. They're calling them face coverings so that they don't have to be fit tested. I'll give you an example. When we did our silica plan last year, at the end of it, we wanted to allow anybody who wanted to wear a mask to wear one. So it said, if you provide your own dust mask, just make sure you follow the manufacturer's instructions and OSHA can't, I have some friends in OSHA and I ran it past them and he went, you got to take that line out. He said, even if they supply their own equipment, they have to be fit tested.
Somebody else had a comment?
Well, we are specifically calling it a face covering for that reason. It's not, and if you look at the guidelines, the mask is not being worn to protect you. You wear the mask to protect other people in case you're sick.
Right.
Right.
To keep your spit and saliva and everything right there next to you. So it's not a respirator. It's not filtering air coming in. It's filtering moisture going out.
Which means the dust masks with the valves on them to allow you to exhale easier so you don't get winded are not doing what we're supposed to be wearing the masks for.
Yep.
Right.
There's lots of different types of masks out there. Lots of different types of N95s too, so. Any other comments on
We've
what's,
actually got one job site out here where if you're within 6 feet, you not only have to wear an N95, but you have to wear splash goggles.
Uh,
All right, so then finally, to make this really serious, since before all this started, people that went into banks to rob them, they wore masks. And now that everybody's wearing masks, if you're going to rob the bank, do you go in without one? We all think about.
Suddenly that mask and roll of duct tape in my trunk is okay.
You try that, Dave, and get back with us and let us know how it works, okay?
yeah.
Check. Yeah.
I'll do in Texas, everybody has a gun.
I'll keep that in mind, Gene, when I see you next time.
So the SAIA does have an article out. It's in the May-June magazine, but they also did email it out. This might be some of the government guidelines that you have down there. I found it quite interesting. Any comments on this article, or did everybody get it or see it already?
I saw it. I saw it.
It came out as an email blast, I think. So
Yeah.
everybody should have got it.
Yeah, and it was done by Sunbelt Rentals. Yeah. It's
Yeah, that was
quite
a great article from SA.
Yeah, it has quite a few good things in there and that. So just if you don't have it or if you haven't seen it, check your emails or phone the SAI to get another copy of it, basically. And slowly wrapping up the meeting here, like probably an hour ahead of time. Is there any questions that anybody has or anything for the supported council?
I want to know where Tom Brewer is. I want to know where he's sitting.
Wendy, the comment, I have two comments. One, I think the presentation on everything that you've went through is very good. But my concern is how long is it going to take to come to fruition? And coupled with that, now we've got a bunch of other stuff that we're saying, well, we should add shoring in there. Well, now we got to go to the shoring council and wait on them. We should add cantilever in there. Then we should add, ties in there. And at the rate we're going, I think this thing is going to, I'll be retired and buried before this thing actually gets published. If we don't just draw a line in the sand and say, okay, here's what we've got. Let's publish it and go with it. We can do an amendment. We can add shoring on revision A. We can add the ties on revision A or revision B. But if we just wait for everything to be done, most of us aren't going to be around anymore.
Okay, for the component inspection, besides changing a few names and labels, it's going to be up on the website probably within the week, as soon as this meeting's over, or the convention committee week is over. Like you say, the amendments to it, that will come after. So this will be up and running and everybody can add their views and their comments in that and use it and share it and that, and then we'll do the updated version because it is over 10 years old. So, that's why we're saying we'll add stuff to the new revision, but this one will be up and running by the end of this week.
Perfect.
Very good.
That was one question. What was the other one?
Southern shore of Ireland, Gene.
Oh, thank you.
Wish I was there again.
That's a beautiful view.
Hey,
Any
Wendy,
other
Chip
questions?
Darius had a question there. He was asking about what is the purpose of the program, the inspection program? Is it to make, keep or throw away decisions, and how is that? And that's different from incident investigation, right? So I don't know exactly which part he was referring to, but he put that
Okay.
on the chat board.
So for the component inspection, we did not get into cutting back planks or cutting this down or cutting a screw jack, or whatnot. We did not get into that because every company's policy is going to be way different. So this is just a generic inspection. This is what you inspected for. This is good. This is bad. Anything further than that, like it's more use, do not use kind of thing. Anything further than that is, up to the companies to add that to it. Unless at one time the SAIA wants to get into that and we set the policies and procedures for every company, every scaffold company as to what they have to cut down and what they can't cut down. I mean, maybe we want to take that road one day, but I might be like Dave, I'll be dead and gone hopefully by the time we get into that.
It's good the way it is. It's a great start, even though it's 10 years old, except for the logos in it, it's still very pertinent, and it's just general enough to give people an idea of what to look for.
Right.
Yeah, find a manufacturer who says, cut my stuff up, it's okay.
Yeah, I think that's got to come out of the SSFI council from the manufacturers to determine what can be modified, what can be repaired, how to be repaired. The manufacturer's going to have the input into that, not the dealers.
Oh, maybe we could have a whole training program on repairing scaffold components.
Well, I think that should be the responsibility of the SSFI.
Right. I was just looking at Daphne when I said that. She's looking for more courses for the SAIA. Any other comments or anything?
Wendy, I'm curious with that engineer that would not design a scaffold that involved frames. Is that because there's a mix of manufacturers of the frames, or just something that he wanted to stay clear of?
Oh, actually, so two answers to that question. The scaffold collapse that you guys saw in the video, that was not only just was not enough ties in the ground and the wind and the tarping. It was a mixture of a yellow scaffold frame and a silver scaffold frame and a blue scaffold frame. So again, with gathering your information, that would go on to that form or that sheet and stuff like that. And the second part of your information is this guy came from Steeplejack Scaffold many, many years ago. And once system came out, he just never wanted to touch another frame scaffold again. Just, yeah, I don't know. Personal preference is more what it is for him. So we have two engineers, one that will do frames and one that won't. Anyways.
Thanks, Wendy.
Any other questions?
Well, with respect to COVID-19, here in New England, it's extremely tight. As we're based just north of Boston, but our trucks are going all over New England. Our drivers are carrying a laminated letter saying that we are a necessary business to stay open. The problem with it, coming from Mass to Rhode Island and back is not a problem, but when I go food shopping into Connecticut, on the way back, I actually got to get stopped by a Rhode Island statey and have to prove that I live here. And they're really, really tight about it.
Good thing you brought that up, Alan. Actually, here in Canada, we have to have a letter. That letter has to state where you're going, because we do work for hospitals and universities and maintenance work and stuff like that. That letter has to be changed daily. We cannot laminate it. It has to state where you're going to. It has to be dated and everything like that. If you're going to more than one job site in that day, it has to have both job sites on there. And it has to be signed by our safety coordinator. We've only been stopped once and it's been accepted. I don't know if we were ever stopped any other time. And that's also because we have two guys per truck and both of them would have different driver's license. So they would come from different households. So that's why we have to have that letter.
Your papers, show me your papers.
The other issue, Wendy, the other issue we have, because we're both a manufacturer and rental houses, is, and a lot of the retail stores down here are doing the same thing, is you order this online and you get a curbside. So what happens is our doors are all locked. You have to call us and we will come to the front door and ask you what you want. It's completely hands-off, even with credit cards. After we take a credit card, the guy's wearing a glove, he actually wipes it clean before he gives it back to the customer. It's added time to what we're doing, but it's going to present a whole new set of rules while the East Coast anyways gets back to going. I don't see where we have a stay-in-home order now in Rhode Island until May 7th, same thing in Mass. I haven't been going, well, I don't want to say I haven't been going to work. I'm working on my computer in Rhode Island, and I've been avoiding my office because I'm the senior guy there, and the ladies in my office are afraid I'm going to bring it back. But I think it's going to change everything we know about doing business.
For sure, for sure. Any other comments?
You know, out here in California, it's a little looser. We've basically got freedom of travel at this point, but all of our guys have the letter from Skyline that says that they're essential workers and all that kind of stuff. But it's all in their crew tracks in the process, so they can pull it up at any time, and they've all got it on their phones. And we actually put together a website that's got all the documents that they need. But we've seen a lot of those same letters coming from our vendors, or sorry, from our customers who have said, I need you on site, here's a letter. So it hasn't got crazy yet out this way, but I can see it going there. So.
Yeah.
It's the same thing here in New Jersey. We've got, every truck has about, I don't know, 5, 6 different letters from 5, 6 different, customers, pharmaceutical companies, stating that we're essential to their essential operation. And we have a few sites that will only let one person ride per vehicle. So we're just sending them right from our yard, everybody in their own vehicle. It's not easy.
Some of our workers, they don't have driver's license, so that would be really difficult for us. And the buses don't go to some of the job sites areas and that. So yeah, that wouldn't really work very good for us.
Hey, Wendy.
Yes.
Hi, Chip Darius here. Has any manufacturer or rental house addressed the issue of individual component sanitation versus bulk sanitation using sprayers or fogs?
Hey, we could add that to that checklist, the inspection list. No, not for us. Anybody else? Anybody else have comments on that?
I think this is an opportunity for SAIA to identify whether or not the association or individual manufacturers feel it's appropriate to use fogs or sprays or bulk activities. But I'm thinking in particular of like stacks of poles or stacks of planks, and there would have to be a requirement for spacers or dunnage in between the components in order for the permeation to affect all of the surfaces. If you just got a pile of components, you're not going to touch everything. And you're
Do you
also
know what
going to...
the lifespan of the virus is on steel and wood plank?
It changes daily.
What's the lifespan, Howard? I mean, what is it? 4 hours?
It's pretty small, and the point I was going to make was, with all the talk and the theories of what the heat was going to do to the virus, being a typical flu type airborne respiratory virus, we're now in our 3rd day of over 100 degrees here in Phoenix, and we've now gone 48 hours without a fatality in the state of Arizona.
Oh.
So the curve didn't just flatten, it's like taking a nosedive here in the state. And I mean, we're all hoping that's a good sign, especially in light of the fact that these temperatures are new and the people that have been passing really were dealing with these symptoms a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago type thing. So it's almost too early to tell, but all indications are that a lot of the theories behind the warmer weather is going to have an impact. It appears to be in the early stages of showing that here. I don't know what that does for the other areas of the continent that don't deal in high temperatures like we do. And it's interesting because as our winter was the Southern Hemisphere's summer, of course, we heard about, Tom Hanks and his wife down in New Zealand having the virus. And that was actually during the summertime in New Zealand. Having been to New Zealand, there's a lot of New Zealand that doesn't hit this high of temperatures as we do here in Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Nevada, some of the places that really hit a sustained level of high temperatures. But I think it's a positive sign. And so, for your point about spraying down our products and stuff like that, it could be a heat issue to take care of the virus as well, where you just rather than spraying it with a chemical, you might be exposing it to maybe hotter temperatures, and that might destroy the virus in itself. At least it appears some early data in Arizona is suggesting that. So
Sunlight as well. So, the ultraviolet light kills the virus as well. And our products are by and large used outside. Not 100%, but by and large.
So I need to ship all my equipment to Arizona and then ship it back so that.
Yeah, and then we're going to give you a sign that says wear gloves and don't touch your face afterwards.
Yeah.
Or just burn it and order new. Your manufacturer will love you.
Just talking about this individual sanitizing and bulk sanitizing and stuff like that. Does anybody have any other questions on or any other input on that?
It's Ali with Avanis. I was just going to add that I have seen some, and I haven't investigated it all, but I have seen some posts out of companies in New Zealand that have pursued some foggers and chemical sprays for this purpose, but I haven't done much investigation into it. So that may be something worth looking into. I can send some links across if that would be helpful.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. Any other things that people want to bring up or members want to bring up?
In talking about COVID and ramping up, we've had a skeleton crew of 3 guys in the yard for the last 6 weeks, 1 or 2 drivers, depending on what was going on, and then just the owner in the office, and maybe the superintendent. And so, a mask lasts pretty much the whole day, things like that. But when we bring back the entire crew, and that's going to happen in the next week or 2, we're looking at 40, 50 people, guys that are working in the field. The mask is not going to last all day. And so the numbers that are going to be required are going to be huge. So if you're looking at ramping up anytime in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you need to make sure that you have plenty of PPE, because it's going to go fast, and it's also going to be hard to get again. They're just catching up, and it's going to start all over.
Well, interesting you say that, because the job site that my guys just went to this morning, the general supplied them, and I was like, oh, thank God. Because you're right, it's going to get very busy for masks.
You got to remember, though, they're not requiring masks, they're requiring face coverings. A handkerchief over your face qualifies.
On some sites, some are asking for the N95s.
Yeah, but even with just a face covering, if we're supplying it, you can't buy a bandana in the Northeast right now.
Not to plug anybody, but these guys turned some stuff around really quick for me. The people over at Hoorag, Hooreg, they literally turned 100 tube bandanas, neck gaiter things around to me in 2 days. So they've seemingly got stock, and I haven't found anybody else who has. And that's kind of our go-to. And then I tell you can't find a mask in California. They don't exist right now.
Well, I went to the CDC website, and they actually show you could take T-shirts, things like that, without the stitching, and you can actually cut and tie your own masks. So there's a way to do it, as long as they're just requiring a face covering, things like that. If you get into the specifics where they want an N95, now that's going to be presenting a different problem. We haven't been able to get them out here in Arizona at all.
You know, talking about fogging and spraying, I could see a big problem on the West Coast where they do a lot of stucco work because they'd have to blast all the equipment clean before they could decontaminate it. Or else you're just going to be spraying it on top of the stucco that's going to bounce off there when you throw it up on the truck anyhow. So it just compounds the problem.
Yeah.
Well, and truthfully, anytime we go to, I mean, we'd have to completely reevaluate the way we stack everything. Plates, crosses, rails, you know, headers, trees, beams, all would have to be refacilitated. So I think that, you know, Howard's probably right. Risk versus reward analysis probably bears out in the path of least resistance, I guess.
Yeah, because if you're spraying it on top of the stucco and then the stucco falls off the frame and then it gets down into the sewer system, you're just making matters worse. You know, the cure is worse than the.
Well, hopefully they find a cure and an oxel for it, and we won't have to worry about all these, and we'll go back to the way we normally have always done business.
I definitely think we're looking at a new normal for sure.
Yeah.
I really think the problem is not this round, because this round is ugly, but this is what everybody will expect the next time we have a flu. And then we're going to have everybody who has written a pandemic response plan will then have a pandemic response.
James, was there any other questions that people wrote in on the chat?
That's really the only one that kind of came through. That and yeah, I know that in suspended at the end, I was able to hang in there for a little bit. It's kind of just an open Q&A like this. So, you know, maybe people were sitting on them.
Okay. Well, if you guys have any questions or concerns or anything that that would pertain to the supported council, we'd be glad to hear them. We also want to hear feedback on how we did in this digital age in case this is the new norm. But even future meetings and that, if we still do the public ones, then we can still have possibly the digital ones for those who can't make it into the meetings and that. So definitely give your feedback to the SAIA or to the supported council, and we'll pass it all on in that.
Thanks for your efforts, Wendy.
Other than that, hope to see everyone in Arizona.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thanks a lot, Wendy.
Good
You
job,
bet.
Wendy.
Good job, Wendy.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thanks, Wendy. Great stuff.
Bye.
Okay, thanks, Wendy.
Thanks, guys.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up our meetings for today, starting at 11 a.m. tomorrow, Central Time. Again, we'll start with fall protection. Again, I'll remind everybody, post on the Hoover app. Make Jackie happy. I look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow. Have a good evening.